Okay, first thing we're going to do with this Jimi Hendrix rhythm, and the whole point of this rhythm is to not play chords like this. Is to do stuff like this. So if I'm just playing like 2 or 3 notes at a time, if you play in a power trio and you're playing chords like this with a bass and drums, and all of a sudden you drop out to solo, it all dropped out. But if you're playing this time, when you switch to single notes, it's not a big deal because you're just playing 2 or 3 notes. It's one thing to go from 6 notes, which is a very big full sound, down to 1 single note, but it's a lot smoother to go from 2 or 3 notes down to 1 single note. Cool. So this is the Jimi Hendrix style of rhythm, and the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we know our scale. Once again, this is a pentatonic, so I can do it in position with lots of 1s and 4s. There's a 2 right there. That's the tuning discrepancy note. Or you could do this all with 1 and 3s. And just shift up there. Or you can do it with all kinds of different fingerings. Doesn't really matter. But the first thing I want to do is to try to hold this chord while I play. This is actually one of the better shapes. Some shapes are more usable than others, or depending on what you're talking about. But especially for chords, for noodling, I'm like, oh, this is all noodling. This is one of the most brilliant shapes ever. So I can do that scale while I hold this chord. Now realize that this is the E, the root in E minor, or this is the G, the root in G major. If this is E, and that's also an E, so your octave, and this is G, and that's also a G. So you get like this open G chord, open C chord rather, sorry, but it is a G chord now, with a capo, or an open A minor with a capo. Cool. So after we get our scale down, I'm going to do double stops, where I'm just hitting 2 notes at once. So instead of hitting, I'm going to hit this. So the first note is 10-10. 10-10. Now I could use that with my pinky, but I'm going to go ahead and use my strong finger because whatever. I could slide that up if I want to sound like I'm in Wings, right? Right? There's a Wings song in there. I can even slide it all up to 15 if I want to be racist. Cool. So 12, but that's a slide, so that's not really in my position. That's just so common that I'm going to go ahead and show that to you. The next 2 double stops, the G and the B. Now this is a dyslexic, very dyslexic feeling right now. Going 3 and then 4, and now I'm going to 1 and 2, right? Here I can go 3 and 4 right on top of each other. I could slop it up and just play a double stop like that, but if I get it wrong and play 1 extra note, all of a sudden it becomes E major, which is a pretty bad note to have. Now I'm a cocky son of a guitar teacher. I mean a computer teacher. I'm a cocky son of a computer teacher. But if you get that note and it's wrong, so you might want to do this to ensure accuracy. You'll see me in this lesson probably do both of them. 1, 1, 4, 3. That's back to a shape like this. A third. And then this. So it's usually fourths. And fourths are usually right on top of each other. Here comes the bride. Or sometimes it's a third, which is Do, mi, the saints. This is a fourth. This actually is the same as 2 notes being on top of each other because the tuning discrepancy has screwed it up a little bit. Fourth, 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 third, major third, fourth, fourth, fourth. So putting these double stops together, cool. Then I'm going to take these double stops but I'm going to do them as single notes, and I'm going to call this the NPR lick. Well, not yet. Oh, we'll do the NPR lick in just a second. We're going to go from the lowest note of the double stop to the highest note, then the lowest note to the highest note. Cool. So I'm hitting that note, and it's a sequence. Cool. Or I could go backwards. I can go down it. Alright, so it's just taking these double stops and doing them notes by notes, whether I'm going up them or down them. See, sometimes I do this, sometimes I do that, whatever. But I haven't screwed up yet. I might. Then I do the NPR lick, and I call it the NPR lick because I go up one, down the other. Right? It's not exactly the NPR song, but it's that sequence. Going up one. Sometimes I do that 3-3. Sometimes I do that pinky-pinky, whatever. I went to Berkeley, so I'm still good with my pinky. But I'm into old music, so a lot of times I use my third finger. Right? Cool. Or I can do it the other way. Very, very sequential, very mathematical. And I really would only recommend using this lick once a gig because it's so mathematical. It's not music. I would never, ever sing that. But you can use it to create an effect. It's a nice little, if you're just trying to create sort of a cascading of notes or whatever. But if you do sequences too much in your solos, then it becomes too predictable and sort of silly. Very mathematical. It's a mathematical lick. I like, math. Sure, whatever. I thought I had a math class since I was 17, but I'm sure there's a lot of fascinating things about math. Cool. So then the next thing I'm going to do is do hammer-ons. Instead of just full-on double stops each time, I might take a double stop but just hammer on one of the notes. And at first I'm going to hammer on the tippy top note. So here's G and B, and I'm going to hammer on my pinky to D. Cool, that sounds alright. But I'm going to prefer it if I hammer on the bottom note and keep the top note the same. I think that's going to make better music for me. And it's in this position it really starts to get good when you hit the third and second string. So here's my third string with my first finger, second string, and I'm going to hammer on the third finger here, the E note. Once again, you can do slow hammer-ons, one and, or insta hammer-ons. And then I'm going to hammer on the note below that. By the way, you could probably see a G chord in here, or an E minor chord. And if I end on G, I go to G. So I can go. One and two and three. Or if I want to go to E, I just put on one more note, a little blues note going to my E. Cool. Sorry, that's not a pentatonic note, but I don't always do what I'm telling you lessons to. So if I do this, that's a slick little move. I'm not just doing, oh no, that would be way too easy. I'm looping, I'm looping in notes, scooping into notes, right? I could have done it with a slide, but I'm doing it with a hammer-on. And it's a double stop, so the top note stays while the bottom note of the hammer on doesn't mean the top note of my guitar, it means the top note of my double stop. Here I'm using the 3rd and 2nd string. So I hammer that note, instant hammer on, but then I go down to the 4th string. And now, am I hitting 3 notes or 2 notes? I don't care. Or 4 notes. Those are all good notes. I can be as sloppy or as clean as I want to be with this. So I hammer and then hammer that. 1 and 2. Now 3 and 4. E. Hit a low E, and I happen to know how my guitar is tuned, so I can just hit the low E. Right? And I can just do that to it. So I want to go 1 and 2. There's 2 hammer-ons. 1 and hammer. Same thing. 1 note. E. Open. Chord. E minor 7th makes you even fusionier. I'm going back to G. If I just go, instead of going G, E, I can go G, E, G, and play the G chord. Remember, there's just 1 note difference. Only the bass player has a different job. So I'm going to do this little loop. E, G. Don't do that. E, G, E. Back to G. Cool. Also in this G, cool. I've got this little lick. This is an E minor lick. E, G. Right, it's a little bluesy. The real blues scale is right here, which we're going to come back to, but this thing. 1, 4, 1, 3, doyot, pinky, back to a hammer. That's a doyot, I mean hammer on pull, with a triplet rhythm. Doyot, pinky, hammer. Cool. Slop it up. And I'm just hitting 2 notes here, 2 notes. Got my pinky in. I'm just sloppy. And then 1 and 1, and 3 and 1. Great little. It's almost a Stevie Ray Vaughan lick. We'll make it a real Stevie Ray Vaughan lick in just a second. Cool. It's still bluesy, but not that sad. Oh, that's who's miserable. That's, you got the blues right there. That's that blues note. Right? That's my passing tone. So instead of going, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hammer the half step. If I want to be happier, get my 3rd finger a little sadder. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Cool. But all this stuff can be used over E minor or G major. When the lights go down in the city, I shouldn't be doing this Journey song because that's changing into a different key or a different chord that we don't need to study on. rule is there really are no rules. Just play the right notes and just slop it up. Be careful that you don't fall into the wrong notes on E major because you're supposed to be in E minor. Cool. I think that takes care of that page.